summer of 2016, I take a handful of my beloved Bionicle comics and bring them to a comic book store. Little did I know that I was in for a rude awakening. Myself, having been an avid follower of the Bionicle lore since its inception in 2001, I'd gathered a few comics, but not all of them. There were still a few gaps in my collection. So I grabbed a couple samples and thought to myself, hey, why not find a local comic book store and see if they've got the issues that I don't have? Simple idea, right? Wrong. So I grabbed my comics, jumped into my car, and went to my local comic book store in San Diego. And I was greeted by the clerk person, who shall remain nameless, mostly because I forgot their name. But the point is, I came up, put down my volumes on the desk and said, hey, do you have any more like this? I'd like to buy some. And the clerk looked at me, looked down at the comics, then looked back at me and said, oh, we don't have these here. And I said, oh, like, you just don't have any right now? And he said, no, we don't have these because these aren't comics. These are our toys. See? And then he showed me the back of the comic and said, look, they're for toys. These aren't real comics. And this person was a gatekeeping jerk. He then proceeded to tell me that these are not real comics because they were just made to sell toys. Isn't every comic made to sell merchandise? Anyway, needless to say, it left me incredibly frustrated. I pointed out the fact that they have a DC logo on them. That didn't seem to matter to him, so I guess he must have been a Marvel fanboy. But they have a price on them. Yes, you could get them for free at the time, but they had a logo, they had a price. For all intents and purposes, these were real comics. This clerk just refused to acknowledge the fact that anything outside of the realm of what was considered official comics could have been of interest to someone. And the gatekeeping really bothered me, so much to the point that I've never been back to that comic store or any comic store. Honestly, I fear them because I'm worried that I'm not going to be taken seriously by some peasant who thinks they're so above everyone else that they decide what is and is not a comic. Not only that, but dismissing these as comics is essentially dismissing the artists and the authors who put the work into this. And that is just shameful. These are well illustrated, and yes, they were made to sell toys, but everything is made to sell things. That's the point. Do you really think that they're doing things to just... Well, anyway, that's a different story. The point is, these are comics, and I will tell that to any gatekeeping jerk, because these are comics. And again, the artists and the authors, everyone who put their effort into illustrating and designing these, deserves that credit and deserves to know that someone out there cares about their work. So that is a rant on gatekeeping and comics and why you shouldn't be a jerk to people, because then they will never come back to your store. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I normally try not to be this salty, but I've just had to get this off my chest, you know? I hope to see you again in another video. Once again, you have been watching Board Games, Bricks, and Hobbies. Take care. Bye.